welcome back to the Cinema Condition with your host, filmmaker, and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. And today we are discussing another movie with another guest, and I am bringing on, once again, 2 weeks later, the wonderful Leah Byrnes to discuss Ari Aster's second feature film, Midsommar. And yeah, I mean, there's no more introducing Leah. She's just popping. She's popped in here now a record 4 times. Nobody else has gotten 4 slots here. And yeah, Leah, how does it feel to not have the longest episode, but have the most appearances on the show now?
I mean, it feels great because we're the dream team and I'm the best. So
no other way to put it, right? That's just
right.
Yep. She just lays it how it is, guys. It is how it is.
Yeah.
How are you doing today on this wonderful quarantined Tuesday?
I mean, pretty chill. Slept in, played some Animal Crossing.
Of course.
That's about it. Now I'm here.
It's not really a Leia weekday or weekend without some Animal Crossing, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. I would ask you how you're holding up as of late, but you've been going through some pain and stuff, so I'll go ahead and skip over that unless you really want to talk about it, but I doubt it. But
I mean, it's fine. I just deal with chronic illness, pain, flare-ups every once in a while, and that time of the month. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to make it on here. I know. So this was supposed to be a lot earlier. It was supposed to be up a lot earlier than expected, but I didn't want to make Leia, record when she wasn't ready to. So, we're doing it literally the day before. But you guys already know when Leia comes on, we are gonna have a great episode. We're gonna have some really interesting talks. And I do want to say before we get into this, I did screen this film on our Discord channel. I'm going to be linking the Discord channel in our description here for you guys. But every Wednesday, I screen a movie for people to watch on our Discord channel, our Discord server. And last week, we did Come and See. And this week, we are doing Elite Squad from a Brazilian action film. But last week was Come and See, the 1985 anti-war film from LM Klimov from Belarus. So if you guys are interested in coming in and watching some movies you probably have never watched and having and watching them with friends and other people who love movies just as much as you do, then you might want to stick by our Discord movie screenings on Wednesdays. So Wednesday nights at 8:30 Central Time. I give a 5-minute period before we start the film. So if you get in by 8:35, you will be here by the film starts. But after 5 minutes, I basically close up the cinema and we start watching the movie, and I'm not going to pause it for anybody else. Unless, it's an emergency, you have to go use the restroom or something, I'll probably pause it. But those are the rules of my cinema. So, Leia hasn't stopped by at one yet. But, she just doesn't want to come and watch movies with us. That's all good.
I just prefer to watch movies by myself if I haven't seen them before because, I don't know. I don't even go to theaters because I hate being around people when watching a movie for the first time.
Well,
Although I didn't see this one in theaters, but
we don't actually talk during the movie. Like we mute ourselves and we watch the movie and then we discuss it afterwards. I'm just trying to kind of replicate the feeling of the communal feeling of watching movies at a theater and bringing it, remotely during COVID age, but. I'm just yanking your chain here. I'm just playing around with you,
Yeah, I know. I prefer to watch things alone. I feel like I get the best experience that way. Plus, I have a really tiny bladder, so I need frequent bathroom breaks. So.
Oh yeah, I'm not pausing it every 15 minutes.
It's annoying for people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I look. I'm guessing what's it called? Leia is definitely the demographic for the streamers, for streaming services and all that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, Leia chose Midsommar, and it is directed by Ari Aster, which we've already introduced last episode when we discussed Hereditary, and we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So, look, Once again, this is a movie that I pre-selected for you. You'll start seeing a pattern of that next season. I started pre-selecting movies for people that I really want to discuss with them. But I guess the question is, Leah, why'd you agree to do this movie with me?
Because it's really weird and I liked it. I don't know.
Yeah. So this is Ari's second film with A24 that he makes after Hereditary, and Hereditary comes out in 2018. So he shoots Hereditary in 2017, of course, finishes it up, then gets ready to shoot Midsommar in 2018, and he does not really refer to this as a horror film. You know, he said he wanted to make a relationship movie. And damn straight, that's what you get in this one. But it has to do with a relationship between what's his name?
Christian.
Oh yeah, Christian, played by Jack Rayner, and Danny, played by Florence Pugh, when they go to Sweden with their with Christian's friends, Mark, Josh, and Pelle. Pelle belongs to a Swedish commune in a very small community inside Sweden. And Pelle takes them to the Midsommar, the 9-day festival that is celebrated every 90 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So if that's not already something to make you like kind of weirded out, then I don't know what is. If they celebrate it every 90 years. But yeah, and during this trip, they are the relationship between Danny and Christian is tested, and we run into some very odd circumstances. So, first of all, this is actually the first time I talk about this movie on as like in an analysis or even review sense, because I talked about it a little bit on our Best of 2019 episode last year on the Nerd Core. But I never really actually went in depth about what it is about this movie that I really enjoy and what I think is so special about it. So this is the first time I actually get to talk about this movie, which I'm glad, because I haven't been able to get the chance to do that yet. Oh wait, what am I saying? We reviewed this on the Nerdy Chicano show. Wow. Okay. This is the first time I get to analyze it for sure. Sorry, my brain fart right there. But,
that's me every moment of every day, so it's fine.
When you do as much episodes as I do at this point, everything starts to blend in,
Yeah.
So, I just can't keep track of every little thing I do. But I was going to say that this is actually the second time I watched this film. I have not rewatched this as much as I have rewatched Hereditary, but I will say that I picked up on some really interesting stuff this second time around. Were you able to pick up on anything precise, that you didn't pick up the first time?
Yeah, this was my second time watching it too. And so like the last time I saw this was when it was in theaters, which, is rare for me to go to theaters because I hate them. But I really forgot a lot of the movie. So everything felt just kind of fresh, really, the second time around.
Yup.
But I was able to see just kind of like how in Hereditary, he like lays out tons of clues throughout the film. Mm-hmm. So I was able to get a lot of like the hidden humor in it that you wouldn't really get seeing it the first time. So that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. I this time around, I did see some of those things hidden in the back. That seems to be something with Ari Aster's films, at least with these two, is that there's a lot of stuff in the back that you don't really get to pay attention at first. And then this second time around, I'm more observing, the productions and the actual design of the movie, and looking at this commune and the shape of the table arrangements, the shape of the living quarters, and it's just really, really, really interesting that this second time around I'm able to pay attention more to that stuff.
Yeah, I like another reason why I love watching movies at home is I can, pause it and I can look at everything going on. So like all the intricate details on the walls and like the paintings and stuff I thought were really cool.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. That first story, they're like, when they're like, oh, can we go look at that? And it's like, what is that? And then they're like, oh, it's a love story. And that whole, array of different paintings detailing this story between I believe that was two women.
I think it was a guy. I can't really remember.
I don't know, but I think whatever. It was a couple. And
Yeah.
I was able to pay more attention to that because this time I wasn't like away from a big ass screen at a theater. I'm actually able to see it. I'm like, oh, so that's kind of what I was missing the first time.
Yeah, I had missed like the first half of that story in the theater because I think I had like looked over to grab like some popcorn or like a drink or something. So I only caught the second half, like when I watched it, and all I saw was like the cutting of the pubes and like bleeding into the cup and stuff. But it was good to actually catch the whole thing this time.
Yeah. So we have a kind of an amount of topics to discuss here. I will say though, as of right now, there are pre-orders for the collector's edition for this film that comes with the 171-minute cut of the film, the director's cut of the film, and it's going to be released on the 20th of August. So if you are if you want to drop like around $40 for a 4K cut of this movie, that I'm pretty sure would look beautiful, and with a couple of essays and a piece written by Martin Scorsese, then you should be interested in what's it called in picking this up. So you can find that cut at A24's website. And you can buy it. And let me say the art for this looks beautiful. I mean, it's not your standard 4K, box set, that it looks like all cheesy. It has the regular movie poster. Like, no, this is a really beautifully made art. And it looks like it's going to be a really, really good addition to my collection. I'm really happy because I never bought Midsommar before. And I said, I'm going to wait. I have a feeling that the director's cut of this film will actually be released. So A24 is selling a collector's edition with that director's cut now. So if you want to buy it for physical media fans like myself, then you go ahead and go to A24's website. By the way, this is not an advertisement for A24. I just wanted to say for my physical media fans, if you want one, then it's going to be in sale. It's what's it called? It is being sold at the moment. So, yeah. And it's going to be coming out, what's it called? Right here it says October. No, I don't know. You can go and check the website. Sorry. But
it says that orders will ship by July 20th. So
ooh, so if you want to get it right now, it's the best time right now. So
okay, well, I'd say some are currently sold out, but they will be restocked. So.
All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. What topic do you want to kind of hit first? I guess if you want, we can go over some of like the production stuff real fast first before we actually get into like analysis of themes and stuff in here.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, because I really wanted to talk about and I don't want to say his name wrong. I believe his name is Bobby, but I don't know if it is Bobby. But let me check it real quick here. But I believe the name of the band was the Haxing Cloak. But they made the music for this. Bobby wow, I don't know how to say that. Bobby Krilk, who is known by his stage name, the Haxing Cloak. Okay, yeah, British musician and record producer. He made the score for this film, and let me tell you, so the score for Hereditary is great. I love that score. And I don't really want to be comparing both of these films because they're both very different films, but I will say this score is even more harrowing. I guess because we have more time to kind of digest it in this movie. Whereas in Hereditary, everything's kind of moving, and you're like, oh, I don't even notice the score at time. In this one, this score really gets under my skin a lot in this movie.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. And sorry to Bobby for I don't mean to call you Bobby, but I can't pronounce your last name. But yeah, the Haxing Cloak's score in this is incredible. One of my favorites is, of course, that scene where they find the body of Danny's sister and her parents, and it's just that really odd violin that's very harrowing and very mysterious. It's very it's sort of kind of weird. And that's
yeah, it makes me uncomfortable, but like it's good, but yeah, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. And it's one of my favorites of last year, and I wanted to bring that up. One other thing I wanted to bring up from the production standpoint, I really gotta hand it off to Ari and the team who were scouting these locations to find this very unsettling looking small community area that they could build these sets, because it just absolutely creates the atmosphere of the movie that you're about to be placed in when you get there for the first time. And you're like, okay, this looks odd. Like everybody sleeps together. There's no privacy. And then on the second floor of those living quarters is where the children are kept. And then you have like this sacred temple that nobody's allowed to go into. Just the way that he sets up the sets and the way that the production value is brought, even in front of the camera, even when it comes to the camera, those weird kind of pastel looking filter that he adds to it to make it look like a dreamscape. It's just incredible what he was able to do with those locations.
Yeah, I thought the architecture was really cool. Like where the buildings, like they're taller on one end and then they kind of like sink more towards the ground. Like especially the building where they keep all their sacred texts. It looks like it's like kneeling down like into the ground. It's really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know how they did that, and I don't know how they probably found these areas, but it says that they filmed in Hungary and Budapest. So that's just, I gotta hand it off to them for the location scouters, because this was just fantastic to look at. They really really recreated what I would think, at least in my head, is a small commune. But
yeah, it looked really good. I really, really love that building where they all sleep together, because the walls and like the ceiling are just completely decked out in art, and it's so beautiful.
It looks like a like a chapel, with all the art and everything, and it just kind of brings this weird feeling. And then off to the side, they have all the pictures of the May Queens throughout their history, and yeah, I gotta say that they did a really, really grand job at the production design here. I was gonna say, Aiden doesn't like this movie either.
Yeah, I know. Brad is an elitist.
Brad has no opinion on this movie because he's never seen it. So we can't shit talk Brad here. But yeah, Aiden said he was gonna come in and talk about every well composed shot for 4 milliseconds. Either way, Aiden, this is going out to you. You ever come in and interrupt one of my recording sessions, you get the band hammer, bro. So don't even test it. Don't even test it for the meme of it. But
yeah, he would never do that. He's just edgy, and he doesn't. I don't know. He's very passionate about movies. He does.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. But I remember because he was actually excited to watch this. He was like, "Oh, this looks pretty damn good. Like I'm pretty interested to watch this." And then when he watched it and he came out of it, I asked him, "What you think, bro?" And he was like, "That fucking sucked."
Yeah, I know. That's how he is. I was like thinking he would like it just because of all the Swedish shit, but apparently that wasn't enough for him.
Yeah, but it's whatever. That's just him and his elitist brain, right? But
yeah.
What is this first topic you kind of want to get into? I know that we have like an array of topics that kind of blend in together. I know that we could easily go into the relationship aspect of this movie, but I think that that's better set for later on when we come back from the commercial break, because that does take up a lot more time than we would want. What do you kind of want to get into first here?
Oh, I don't know. Why don't you just start off and I'll vibe with you.
You'll vibe with me, right? You'll vibe with me.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can just go into the first aspect that I think we can definitely get into is the grief and the loss in this movie. So once again, this is another film that Ari kind of tackles the whole idea of mourning and of loss and grief. And of course, that's in Danny's character after her sister quote unquote kills herself and then murders her family in a double murder suicide. And Danny kind of has to go through that herself and kind of learn how to kind of walk through this mourning process without a support system. Apparently she's supposed to have Christian, but Christian doesn't obviously give a shit, and he doesn't really care about Danny and what she's going through. So she's kind of alone and very vulnerable with her grief and her loss after her loss.
Yeah, I like Christian is just so distant. Like in the beginning it seemed, you know, like he tried a little to comfort her, but like throughout the whole movie, every time she gets upset, she walks off and like just deals with it by herself until like she gets to Hardaga and like the people support her there.
Yeah. So, you know, obviously her boyfriend's distant and everybody around her too. The only person who seems to kind of, you know, mention it is Pele, who's like, you know, he tells him like, I understand what you're going through because, you know, Pele lost his parents and he was taken in by this commune. And when she gets there, how she tackles, she goes from being alone and with her feelings of in her mourning, and now her feelings are kind of taken on by the community, and they're kind of going through it together. Yeah. And one of the things that I kind of bring up, is, at least when it comes to Danny's sense, it's when she sees, of course, Christian, and I don't even want to say that he's having sex because he's raped. Christian's raped.
It's definitely,
it's rape.
Yeah.
Let's not beat around the bush. It's rape. When Christian is being raped, and she walks off, you know, crying and screaming, the other people from Jorga, they get together with her and they scream with her, they cry with her, they emulate the feelings that she is going through in a way of kind of reminding her that she's not alone, but that, you know, they're willing to take on that labor for her in a way what Christian wasn't able to do for her, not being able to be there for her, not being able to understand what she's going through.
Yeah, because like right after we see like what's it called? The ceremony where like the people jump off and like the cliff and kill themselves. Yeah. Danny like is obviously really upset about it, and Christian just says, "Why don't you take a minute to yourself?" and just lets her walk off and deal with it by herself. Like that just bugged the shit out of me. But in that moment where she is like grieving, like Christian's supposed infidelity, because you know what it looks like to her is that he's cheating on her, but it's obviously a very murky, rapey situation. But like just the way that they comfort her and like scream and like wail with her, I'm just like, damn, need me some of that.
And once again, it's just the way that, once again, I really gotta hand it off to the guy, the way that he portrays women in hysterics. Like, there's not a lot of films that do that correctly, especially from male directors. But I don't know if it's Ari directing her at this point, or it's Ari kind of being like, you do this on your own. Like, I can't really control this part from you. I haven't listened to the commentary tracks on this movie, especially, or Hereditary, but it's just really, I want to say it's beautiful the way that this community kind of, you know, takes her in and goes through her pain with her at the same time, when she really needs it from the person that she loves the most right now.
Yeah, I think like one of my favorite parts like is when Pele is talking to Danny, like just about the community sense, you know, like, and he's like, I never got the chance to feel lost when my family died because I have family here where everyone embraced me and swept me up, but like your culture, you don't get that. You have to deal with it alone, you know? Yeah.
And it's so interesting because, you know, today we're talking about this movie, but next week we're doing the Farewell with Brad, and that's another movie where we talk about, you know, grief and loss and the way that it's kind of presented within the Chinese culture. And you know, that's one of my favorite scenes too, also because of when he brings up Christian, he's like, what does he say? Does he make you feel comfort? Is he your home? And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, he says, because he said, he says that, like, first talking about how his community doesn't have to fight over what's theirs and what isn't. So he's like, I have always felt held. Do you feel held by him? Does he feel like home to you? And just at that moment, I'm just like, God damn it, he's the worst. Like, kill him already, you know? Like, Jesus.
It's at that point I was like, hey, yo, those are two lines that a lot of people in my life could really use right now. Like, I know a lot of people who are going through stuff, and I could tell them, like, here's the question: Do you feel held by her? Is she home for you?
That's all you gotta say. Just make them watch Midsommar.
Yeah.
They'll get their shit together.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be using that now. I'm just gonna look them straight in the eye and tell them. Do they make you feel held? Are you held by them? Do they make you feel like? Are they home? But yeah, and I say that it's beautiful, even though her feelings are being manipulated to a sense, because at a certain point in her life, after she becomes May Queen, she's gonna be she's either gonna be sacrificed by when the people choose her to be sacrificed, or she's gonna have to kill herself at around age 72. But
yeah,
there's sort of a manipulation of grief going on there that's really interesting. But at the same time, it means a lot to Danny to be finally being able to process these feelings of loss, because nobody is there with her to do it at first. Like, Christian, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to stay with you if you still need to talk, he says, hey, I kind of want to go to a party. And it's like, dude, like, your girlfriend's sister was killed herself and her family, and you're telling me you want to go to a party instead of staying with her and making sure that she's okay? Like, it's just this whole idea of how much time is granted to people to be able to mourn, and in a way that kind of comes down to the cultures in the way that we view death. So I want to have you take that away, take it away with the whole idea of death culture.
Yeah, I forgot I was gonna say something and now it escaped my brain.
No, that's just. I thought we were the dream team.
I know, but I saw Marceline like stretch out in the sun, and I was like, "Oh, cute!" And then my brain was like, "Wait, I had thoughts."
Was it about about the whole party, or what was it?
It was when you were talking about the manipulation of emotions. Like, I thought that was interesting because like Christian manipulates emotions too, but in a more negative way. Whereas like this commune, they do definitely manipulate emotions, because like they have that whole culty vibe, and that's how you get people into your cult, is you take people in who have like trauma or who are like a little bit emotionally unstable, and you prey on those insecurities to get them into your group. But I almost just feel like they did it in a very comforting way. Whereas every time Christian manipulates Danny's emotions, he's just kind of like, oh, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, you're kind of overreacting. Like, you need to calm down a little bit. But the commune just like lets her experience her emotions to the fullest.
Yeah. And like a lot of people, and I guess this can go into the death culture, like the way that we just handle death, a lot of us are like, well, that's kind of your thing to go on by yourself, instead of taking it on as a community. It's difficult because, I can't really speak on that, because in my culture, we don't take it as by ourselves. We take it on as a community. We talk about it, but we also celebrate death in a different way. It's more of the spirit kind of being reunited in what's it called, wherever afterlife you believe it is, but that the spirit still is able to be around us, and we're still able to celebrate the life that comes with it. But not a lot of cultures are like that. So I wanted you to bring up what your notes that you had on the whole death culture stuff.
Yeah, so I'm really into just death culture in general, like around the world, how people experience it differently. I just want to give a quick shout out to Ask a Mortician on YouTube, Caitlin Doty. She has great videos about death culture and all of that stuff, because she's a mortician. She'll answer all your questions, whatever you want to know about death, she's got it figured out. But I just think it's interesting to look at, in like this film, just the American death culture, for like how Danny's obviously dealing with things on her own. We don't get to see like the funeral or anything for her parents, but like most people here in America still stick to that like standard where they pump you up full of chemicals, throw you in a casket, maybe have an open casket funeral, and then bury you, which is like it's bad for the environment, but that's a whole different thing. But like it's just people here don't really want to deal with death. Like just the very notion of death is scary to them. So by preserving the bodies and like looking at them, they don't look as dead, you know? Like obviously they're dead, but it's not, I don't know. Like you get a chance to just kind of like look at them as if they were just sleeping peacefully. Like they don't really deal with all of it. I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense.
Well, no, it's true. Like, you're not given time to actually process these feelings. You kind of look at like, oh, just, this is your own thing. You got to do it on your own. And that's very, the very American way to look at it, because we're all just so individualistic. But, at least when it comes to my culture and the Latino culture, like this is a family thing. We process this as a family. We don't look at death as something that's wrong. You look at it as a part of life itself that you're supposed to, but instead of, sitting there and, crying over these things and, harrowing over it, but, we sit down and we celebrate the life that person had. And it's which is very different when you see the Atsupun. I don't know how to say it. When those two people throw themselves off the cliff, and
Stupa maybe, I don't know.
Stupa, I don't know. And then what's it called? The two tourists they overreact and they're like, wow, what is that? That's fucked. Which yes, in a sense, yes, it is absolutely fucked to be throw yourself from that high of a cliff, and then if you miss it, you have to get your head beaten into. But like I think that is messed up. But in a way, it's like, it's better than growing old, suffering and not having a say in when you want to go.
Yeah, and that's like what what's her name, Civ, like the lady, yes. the lady that kind of runs the show. She is explaining to like Simon. Is it Simon and Connie? Yeah,
yeah,
Simon and Connie freak the fuck out. Like, I feel like that's how any of us who weren't raised in that kind of culture would react in that situation. Like, what the fuck just happened? You people are crazy. I want to fucking leave. This is fucked up. But the way she explains it, like, it soothed me when I first saw it, like, at first I'm like, ew, what the fuck? But she's like, no, like, it is a great joy for us to give our life this way. Like, our life is a gesture. We give it as a gesture before it can spoil, because there's no good in like dragging out dying and lashing back at the inevitable. It corrupts the spirit. And that's absolutely how Americans deal with shit here. Like, we just pump ourselves up full of pills, whatever, life support machines, anything just to avoid dying. Caitlin Dowdy, the Ask a Mortician lady I mentioned, she wrote a memoir about working in a crematory, and she has like talked with a lot of people who were like, having to deal with the burial of their loved ones or disposing of the remains of their loved ones. And she said like this one time this girl came in and she was like, it was just so sudden, like no one saw it coming, even though her like very, very old father had been on life support for like months and was just like continuously getting worse. But she was like, it was such a shock. And I think it's just because we just don't think it's gonna happen here. Like you need to get comfortable with the idea of death. And I like that this community is comfortable with it. I mean, like, obviously the extent they go to is kind of maybe a little over the top, but like I think it is something that Americans need to deal with, is just like, we'll die someday, and it's probably sooner than you think it's gonna be. Like, I don't know. Time to deal with it, time to get comfortable knowing what your options are for when you die, how you're gonna be buried, all of this stuff. I don't know. I'm very passionate about die.
Yeah, and I think that we're starting to kind of open our eyes to that, especially right now with the pandemic, in a way, because people are like, I can't even see my loved ones who are dead, because we there's a fear of the virus being contracted while we're there. So I think people are starting to kind of see that and kind of handle that here in America, and
Yeah, I mean, to an extent, I think like, yeah, there are some people who are actually thinking about having to deal with it, but then you have all the anti-masker fuckers going around, and I think those are the type of people who really, really just think that they're immune to this. Like, they really don't think that they can get sick. They don't think they can die. They don't think that the people around them can get sick and die from their actions. Like, these are the people who need to fucking pay attention and get comfortable with the idea that we're all going to die.
Yeah, and that's just it's just oddly presented in here with the whole Atsupa, but it's once again, it just goes back to Danny, who's just there, like, that she just does not know how to process those feelings, and because she comes from the U.S. where like you said, you argue about what things are yours, you argue about, you kind of take this on your own when your community is there. You can take this on as a community. You can work through these feelings as a community, and you can take on this pain as a community, and we'll feel it. And in a way, once again, it kind of brings the whole idea of, like, and it doesn't really clearly bring it up like Hereditary does it, but it's the whole basis of generational trauma. Like things like when I say. When I hear the word, when I hear racial slurs against my culture, like that doesn't hurt. It hurts me, but it doesn't hurt me because it's being aimed at me. Like I'm feeling the weight of not just myself, but thousands of generations of Latinos who came before me, who had to fight for me not to be able to be called that. Mm-hmm. So it brings up this idea of, like, with you carry your community. And that's what Pele is going through. Like, Pele carries his community with him, and he's able to do all he can to make sure that his community feels that they are being not just respected, but that they're doing what they need to do. And yes, that means bringing in blood to kill for them. But that's just the cult part of this.
Just ignore that right now. Like, looking at the good parts of the community, like, is they do hold each other and lift each other up and provide for each other. Mm-hmm. Where, like, Danny throughout the whole movie is being afraid of being seen as a burden. Like, she says over and over to her friend in the morning, she's like, or in the beginning, not the mornings, in the beginning of the movie, she just says over and over to her friend, like, I don't want to be seen as a chore. Like, he shouldn't have to put up with me feeling bad, and it's kind of fucked, but that's the way a lot of us think. Like, I know it's what I think a lot of the time too, because I do struggle with mental illness too, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother anyone with this, so I'll just go sit and cry in the bathroom and pretend everything's fine.
Yeah, and that really just, it comes down to our cultural differences and how we're brought up in the cultures that we live in. And I'm pretty sure it's very different for you, coming from like a predominantly white family. So I don't know what that is. Contrary to a lot of people who think I'm white, I'm not white. But that's just the way it is. But I guess it's just an ongoing joke at this point. But no, that's Brand. Brand's white. But yeah. So when we come back from our commercial break, we will be discussing more themes from Midsommar. But in the meantime, please watch these. Well, not watch these. What am I talking about? They're not video. Well, they are video, but they're, translated into audio. But listen to these wonderful commercials made by some wonderful people from different shows on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And when we come back, we will be continuing our conversation on Ari Aster's Midsommar. Now, we will see you after the commercial break. All right, we'll be back. Hey, I'm Raul Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
And we are the hosts of High Flyer Radio. And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it is from AEW to SmackDown to Raw to NXT. Nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle. Oh, yeah. Don't tap out. Tune in.
Tune in.
Hey, it's Ashley from the Gamer Core. You may remember me from such episodes as Big Screen Mess, Mo Money Mo Platforms, and Brad Can Read. Tune in weekly as I blab with my co-hosts Raul the Nerdy Chicano and Brad the Random Germ about the latest news in gaming and gush over what we're playing at the moment. Oh yeah, and we got the deals too. Keep up with the latest deals in gaming and what's happening as I mediate Brad and Raul fighting like a married couple. Will Death Stranding ever come out? Will Cyberpunk 2077 live up to the hype? Is a next-gen worth a $500 console price tag? And has there ever been a movie adaptation of a video game that's been done right? It's all on the Gamer Core podcast, everywhere where podcasts are.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerdy Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is an interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Colton Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to the Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/thenerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on Nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hello, 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 guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
What's up, everybody? It is me, Raul, and I'm one of the hosts of the Nerdy Chicano Show. The Nerdy Chicano Show is a comedic show brought to you by Luis and myself, and it comes to you all every Sunday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. You can catch it a day early by becoming a Patreon and supporting us at the $1 tier. And I don't really know how to explain this show other than it's fun. We get to talk about whatever we want, and it helps you move on in the week. So if you want to catch the Nerdy Chicano Show every Sunday at 8 a.m. All you got to do is go to anchor.fm/thenerdcore, and we'll see you there, baby. Hey, everyone, I'm Raul.
And I'm Brad.
And we're the hosts of the Nerdcore Podcast, the podcast that talks that nerd. Not on this ad, right?
Not
and
on this one.
We come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. On the Mondays, we talk the news. That's the box office, the news of the week, and your trailer talk if there is any. And on Tuesday, we have our theme review. And on Saturday, you have a Saturday morning review, usually movies that have come out in the week or anything we want to talk about. Right, Brett?
Exactly. Whatever we want to talk about, this is our show. If you don't like it, then you don't have to listen.
We're the flagship show, the Nerdcore Podcast feed, and we can be found everywhere you can listen to podcasts like Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. So if you want to talk that nerd stuff with us every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, make sure you tune in. And Brad?
Young Yoda out.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to the Cinema Condition. Here we are discussing Midsommar with Leah Byrnes. And you're back from commercial break. And I hope you guys enjoyed those wonderful commercials made by some wonderful people from the Nerdcore Podcast Network. Of course, we are in a pandemic, so a lot of those shows aren't as active as they should be. But, it's a pandemic and I'm not forcing anybody to record who doesn't need to record. So the only shows who are active at the moment are the Nerdcore, the main show, and the live show, and this show. So, make sure you go and check out those shows on their respective times. Oh, and High Flyer Radio. I'm sorry. I hope Jabril doesn't hate me for forgetting about that. But yeah, make sure you check out those 4 shows out, and you go and give those hosts a follow. I'm mostly in all of those shows, so yeah, give me a follow. But yeah, hopefully you guys go and support that. As always, you can leave a rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher on the Nerdcore Podcast Network podcast feed. Please, if you're following the show if you're following this show on that feed, you're really late, and this season is going to end before you even know it. But if you're on this feed, then you're on track. So make sure you go and check out all that wonderful stuff. And we are going to come back to our conversation right now. So I've got a little bit of stuff left here, Leah, that I haven't really brought up. I guess we kind of went into the whole cultural differences here. I kind of want to get into a little, 2 things in here that I definitely wanted to bring up before we go into this big part of the relationships in this movie, because that's what this movie is a relationship film. So there's a bit of inbreeding in this movie, and yeah, a tad bit. So and it's weird how they bring up why inbreeding is needed in this movie. So one of the elders says that Ruben, who is the disabled member of the commune, is a product of inbreeding, and they need inbreeding to create people like Ruben because they are not quote unquote clouded by the perils of human, like being a normal human, I guess what they were trying to say. They're not corrupted by what they're not able to see, and
by neurotypical human judgment or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Which is it comes off comes off a little ableist to me, but it's odd how they're like, yeah, we inbreed. And, of course, you expect it in a movie about a cult. Of course, there's some inbreeding. But then they said they break up the inbreeding by bringing in outsiders. And, of course, that's how they bring in Christian to, impregnate the girl, the sister of Pele. Yeah, Asha, the Pele's sister. And then, he gets offed after, you're not needed anymore because you've already served your purpose to impregnate Asha. So what do you think about the whole inbreeding purpose in this movie?
I think it's fucked up, but I thought it was interesting that right before they mentioned that they do inbreeding, Christian was asking them if they inbreed, and they're like, "Oh no, we respect the incest taboo. We bring in outsiders." And then literally Josh is like, "Oh, so you have to wait around for disabled people to write your sacred text?" They're like, no, we inbreed. I'm like, what's the truth here, man?
Yeah,
I think it's fucked to inbreed to get your oracles, and I just like the whole idea that they don't think Ruben can also experience the same kinds of thoughts that a neurotypical person would. I think is a little sketchy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's sketchy and a tad bit ableist, if you ask me. But
yeah, because I've worked with disabled kids, and they are fully capable of those kinds of thoughts and emotions that other people experience. So I think it's a little fucked up, but
yeah. But it is so interesting. It is so interesting how he's like, Josh is like, so you have to wait for disabled people to come into the car. It's like, oh no, it's inbreeding. It's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, once again, that comes into the whole cultural differences, and it's just as important as them not being able to take pictures of the sacred texts, or them not peeing on the ancestral trees that gets Mark killed. Which, by the way, God, I was like, Mark, by the way, Will Poulter, incredible actor. He was supposed to be the original Pennywise for the remake, and he didn't end up becoming the Pennywise for that film. But great actor. But that has got to be one of the dumbest things you ever do, dude. Like, come on, you have living quarters. There's restrooms here. Like, you don't have to go and pee on the tree. But
like, obviously, they are somewhat like they are evolved. They have restrooms. They have like, they even have a TV somewhere because like that one chick came in and was like, the kids are watching Austin Powers. Like, who wants to go watch Austin Powers? Like, use a toilet.
Yeah, so they're evolved. Like, they're not too separated from society, but like, also they do kind of take a lot of their cultural practices very seriously. And that's why when Mark pees on that tree, that guy starts breaking down and crying. He's like, this is just not right. Like, you are disrespecting my ancestors and what that tree means to us. So with that brings the practice of inbreeding as well. And you're kind of like, Josh has to be like, what the fuck, man? But like, this is who they are. Like, I can't really I can't really judge them for who they are, because this are their practices. And then I wanted to get into the cannibalism aspect of this movie too. They eat, what's it called? I believe the Simon. They took out organs out of him and they cooked them in the pie, right?
I don't remember if they cooked him in the pie, but yeah, they definitely filleted Simon a little bit. I actually looked up that type of murder, and it's called a blood eagle ritual, like execution, by like pulling their lungs out to make like the wings and shit.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's a thing, but I guess there's a debate among scholars though whether this was just created like as a literary invention, or if like people in these places actually practice this kind of execution. But yeah.
So I don't know if they ever eat these guys, but they do put their pubic hair in the pies and their blood, their period blood in the drinks, and yeah, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, it's kind of odd, but once again, it's those cultural differences. Like, to one culture, this is like normal. To another one, they're like, dude, we don't drink period blood over here. Like, that's just that's not. But
yeah, I have that like written down in here where I'm just kind of like thinking about like the Atta Stupa, where they like throw themselves off the cliffs, and like all these other things, like cultural things that we would see as like immoral and wrong, but to them it's just their normal way of life. So like, can we even go in and say that is inhumane or like wrong, or like can we even like try to change these things without being like an asshole? Because like, obviously Americans have been doing this for centuries with cultures everywhere. Like I don't know if you've read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, but like basically it's about this community in Africa, and one of their traditions is they think twins are evil. So if twins are born, then they will go set them in the woods to die, which obviously is like, kind of fucked up. But then a whole bunch of missionaries come in and they start with that practice by ending that practice, and then use that to undermine all of the other cultural things that they do and like tear apart this culture and community. So I'm like, fuck, like if we say like one of these things is fucked up and try to change it, like what else can people change, and just completely destroy a culture?
Well, I think that kind of relates to the movie too, because like Josh is, Josh obviously doesn't like what they're doing, but he's so interested in exploiting these people's culture for his thesis, and being able to get a grade for it, and being able to become a published author and stuff, whatever, and get his PhD. And it's like how quick we are to to obviously feel a certain way about a culture, but like, if we can use them for a movie, if we can use them for a book, like it would be great to use this culture that's not even ours and talk about it, and being able to exploit that to our needs.
Exactly.
So that's those are the cultural stuff I wanted to bring up. The whole cannibalism aspect. It's like odd, but it's like, what like, Yeah, I mean the Donner Party, did some cannibalism. So
Yeah, I mean they were kind of forced into that. Although there was one guy who would like actually really liked it, so he would kill a bunch of people and eat them.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I want to get into like basically the biggest part of this movie, unless you have anything else to go into before we talk about the relationships.
Let's see. I guess like one thing that's just kind of like funny before we start out is just some of the funny little hints for like later on in the movie. Like there's just a couple of them that I thought were really funny. Like in the very beginning, they're talking about getting to go to Sweden, and Pele makes a joke and he's like, don't forget all the Swedish milkmaids you can impregnate in June. To like Christian, and I thought that was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
At one point they're all hanging out, like they had just gotten there and all the kids are running around playing a game, and one of them asks Pele what they're playing, and they're like, oh, it's Skin the Fool, and then Mark, of course, is the fool, and he's the one who gets skinned later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then at one point they just walk past like the bear in the cage, and they're like, so we're just gonna ignore the bear? And everyone's just like, yeah,
It's a bear.
just a bear.
It ends up that it's not just a bear. You put one of the sacrifices inside of it.
Ends up being like a big old thing in the end. So I just thought those were just kind of funny before we transition into me ranting about how much I hate Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, but I always find that so funny, the whole bear thing. Is like, what's up with the bear? It's like, it's just a bear.
It's a bear.
Yeah, it's a bear. It's a bear. But then the bear means something. The bear is like this beast that holds all these, emotions and stuff, and they're able to take away that wickedness and be able to burn it. And it's like, in a way, it's kind of a cruel that you have to get a bear from the wilderness, kill it for your sacrificial stuff, and then burn its lifeless corpse. It's kind of cruel, if you ask me.
Yeah, I felt sad about the bear dying, but like Christian, I'm just like,
Yeah.
burn baby burn.
Burn,
I don't
baby,
fucking
burn.
care.
Get out of here. So let's get into the relationships. Relationships in this film. Obviously the biggest one we can talk about is Danny and Christian, but that's not the only one in here. I mean, there's Christian and Josh, Pele and Danny. The whole relationship of the commune with Danny. You also have Christian and Josh and the community as well, and the way that he exploits them. But let's just go straight into Christian and Danny, because obviously that's the biggest one that we can kind of take away from here. That's the romantic relationship that is obviously the central figure of the film. God, this guy is a gaslighting asshole.
He's the fucking worst. Like, I was getting so mad while rewatching this, because like I had, kind of remembered it a little bit. Like I was like, oh yeah, he was a jerk, but damn, I forgot just
how bad
how
he
fucking
was.
shitty he is.
Oh, I knew he was bad when he when he answers the call and he tells her like, this is just another ploy of attention for your sister. Like, you let her be like this when you answer her calls, and it's like, dude, I want to punch you so bad right now, bro.
Yeah,
like,
he's
you don't
just
say that.
intentionally invalidating any type of emotions that Danny is having because he doesn't want to deal with them.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, it's fine. It's all right, And Danny, I feel so fucking bad for Danny because, like, every time she gets upset for a rational reason, he will, pull this shit where he'll get mad and defensive and, like, think that she's taking it out on him and stuff. And she'll completely just turn it around because otherwise he's going to be upset and like shut her out. And she's like, oh yeah, you're right. I just needed to be reminded that I'm overreacting. Like, you're definitely right.
No, this is not right. Like, this guy's obviously treating you like shit. And then, of course, the other example I brought up, like her, obviously depressed over her family's death. And he's like, I was going to go to a party. Like, what? Like, dude, that's just not right. And then even then, when he comes back and he finds out that she finds out that he's going to Sweden, and he's like, it was more like of a plan. Like, dude, you got a ticket. You were going to leave her alone and go off and go without her.
In that conversation, he just completely manipulates her into apologizing, even though he's the one who fucked up. Yeah. And I hate it.
Yeah. And then, what's it called? and then what's it called? Mark pulls something that I absolutely hate. So like obviously, Danny doesn't feel comfortable with doing with doing the mushrooms, and then Mark's like, well, all our trips are gonna be are different. Like, you know, we're gonna have different trips. We can't experience this together. And then you know, Christian, who, you know, I do want to say that Christian probably was all right with not doing it and just sitting there with Danny, but he once again is so influenced by the people around him that it once again makes him kind of you know, invalidate what Danny wants.
Yeah, I feel like Mark is definitely one of the bigger instigators of these situations with Christian, whereas like I can't remember if Josh was the one saying though that it was like abusive.
No, it was Mark.
Emotions. I think it was Mark.
Yeah, I know. He goes, it's literally abuse, and I'm like, shut up,
but
dude.
it's Mark. Like, he is just like, he's so fucking stupid and emotionally stunted that he's just like, he just can't grasp a woman having emotions and like a boyfriend having to be there. And I'm sure Christian, like, when he is with his friends, I'm sure he completely distorts the situations too to his friends. Like,
yes,
he's probably like, "Oh, my girlfriend's being like a fucking crazy psycho bitch again," you know, like
the good old, damn, my girlfriend's a bitch, bro. And it's like,
yeah, like, and I feel like that's probably what his friends get the most. And but Mark is definitely the most aggressive in trying to get him to like leave Danny and all this other stuff. And it just seems like Josh kind of doesn't really care that much.
No, Josh doesn't care.
Obviously uncomfortable.
The only thing he really talks to me about is like, well, you should probably end the relationship so you can concentrate on what you need to do, like your PhD.
Yeah. He's like, you need to focus on your school.
Yeah.
Which I think was a valid thing. Like, obviously, if the relationship's not going well, definitely end the relationship. And then I think he just kind of stays out of obligation, obviously.
Yeah.
Because Danny's family died.
Mm-hmm. But it's just constant that Christian is just invalidating her, making her feel like, you know, like, oh, like, your emotions don't really matter here, and I'm the one who who brought you with me to Sweden and, you know, put off the plans that I originally had for it to just be us, and now I've in what's it called, making you now I'm involving you with all my stuff I'm doing here. Like, I couldn't have done this. Like, you should be happy that I'm the one who brought you here. And it's like, it's just so it's so damn angry, because, you know, that's how he doesn't know that's how he doesn't realize that's how he pushes her away. Like, that's how he literally pushes her away to ultimately having her, you know, having him be sacrificed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, God, another thing that made me pissed off about him is when they get there and it's her birthday, and Pele's the only one who remembers.
Yeah.
And when Pele like gives her the gift, she's like, "Oh, it's not his fault that he forgot. I forgot to remind him." And I'm like, "You've been together like 4 years. You shouldn't have to fucking remind him when your birthday is."
Well,
like,
then he doesn't even know it's been
so
4
sad.
years. He doesn't even know it's been 4 years. He says, they ask Connie and Simon ask how long you've been together, and he says 3.5 years, and she goes, no, it's been 4. Like, dude, like, how do you not know these things? Like, you obviously don't care about her, and you obviously wanted to break up, but now you feel like you have an obligation, which you should probably be using this period where you feel like you're obligated to stay to treat her better, but you're not. You're being an asshole.
Yep, he's just being the same distant piece of shit that we've seen from the beginning of the movie. Yeah, it just makes me so upset, because I know that there's so many girls out there who are dating guys exactly like this, and they deserve better. Like, if you're out there and your boyfriend's a piece of shit like Christian, please leave him.
Yeah,
please leave him.
It's not worth the hassle and the invalidation of your feelings, because, you know, Danny deserves to have somebody who makes her feel like her emotions matter, who is able to be there with her, to process these emotions with her, because that's what your job is. It's not even your job, it's what you should do as a partner, is be there for that person and make them feel like they matter. In every single instance that Christian and Danny are together, it doesn't feel like Christian thinks that she matters.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And you can just tell, especially in the body language too, like how he is around her. even is like distancing himself like physically.
Yeah. He doesn't really want to look at her.
Barely around each other. Yeah, they don't really look at each other. He'll touch her on the shoulder occasionally, like maybe hold her hand.
Yeah.
But it's usually when it's in front of other people and he wants to like look good.
It's not the way that Connie and Simon are, like, you know, wrapped around each other. Like the Connie gets so, you know, what's it called, heartbroken and very nervous that Simon left before her and left without her, and it's like, you know, it's you see that relationship and you see Christian and Danny, it's like, wow, like, you know, like this is how you should be acting with her, dude. Like this is how you should treat her, but you're not like that. But Christian, it doesn't just have a problem with Danny, he also has a problem with the way that he treats Josh. And yes, 100% he was copying what Josh was gonna do with his thesis.
I know, and how ironic is it that it's the white dude who's being the leech and like stealing his black friend's like topic. And I just loved though that Josh called him out and he's like, you think I don't know what you're doing? It's kind of outrageously subtle because this is the same shit he's been pulling on Danny like their whole relationship, where he's like, oh, well, it's not really my fault that I'm a piece of shit and this is what I'm deciding to do. Like, I'm open to collaborating, and I'm the good guy here, and you're being unreasonable because you're upset.
And then how quick he is to put him under the bus. He's like, oh, like, what's it called? You know, we don't know where Mark is, but like, if Josh was the one who stole the book, we want you to know that we do not associate with him as colleagues or friends. It's like, dude, you were just kissing the guy's ass, so you were able to collaborate with him like 2-3 scenes ago. And then now you're kind of throwing him under the bus. Like, you're a terrible friend, man. You're a terrible friend.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. And he didn't even really worry about Mark when Mark goes missing. He's like, whatever, it's fine. I'm like, bro, it's like, how are you this like socially and emotionally like inept? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. So, you know, he has a problem with that, but you know, and then, you know, of course, Mark and his relationship where he's the one who's instigating. It's funny how, you know, he doesn't really care that what happened to Mark when Mark is the one who instigates him to do most of the stuff that he does. It's like, like how could the guy who has the most influence over you, like not affect you when he leaves, when he's not there anymore?
Yeah, like, how do you not notice, like the one who kind of pushes you around?
The loudest one in the group.
Oh my God. Yeah, Mark was ridiculous.
I think one of my favorite parts is when they come back after the Atsupa or whatever it is, right? And Mark is like, dude, out of all the things you let me sleep through, and then Christian looks at him like, what? Like,
I know.
It's like, I think that's when he was like, okay, dude, I don't know what the hell you want here, dude. Like, please just stop with this. But
yeah, Mark's kind of like just a little edgelord, I think.
Yeah.
Although like the only thing I really like about Mark is like when they're like hiking and he's like scared of the ticks and getting Lyme disease. Like I thought that was so funny.
Oh yeah, it's like, dude, don't play with me. Don't play with me. Like I know what's it called, an aunt that has Lyme disease, and like, dude, and then everybody, everybody's just,
it wasn't worth the picnic in the park.
Yeah. So while Christian is kind of invalidating Danny and Pele are able to, you know, to kind of, you know, Pele, I don't know. I don't know if it's Pele manipulating Danny too into wanting to stay in the commune and staying here with them, or if it's Pele just, you know, being truthful that he kind of does feel something for Danny. I think it's a mix of both, and I think that's what makes it, you know, kind of easier for Pele to lure Danny to stay in the commune and not leave at first. But you know, I gotta say, what's it called? When she wins the May Queen and then he kisses her, and him, like he like, she doesn't even stop, like she doesn't stop him, like, or like, because at first when they're having that conversation, he's like grabbing her hand and he's like, yo, Christian could come in, and then after that she's like, yeah, whatever, keep kissing me. And it wasn't like a small peck, like it was a big kiss, it was a long kiss.
Yeah, I think like I don't know, like the way he supports her and everything, I think he understands that she wasn't ever really going to be in this situation. Like Christian dragged her here, essentially, like she was never supposed to be part of the celebrations. But I think he does feel like a sort of like a friendship for sure, like with her, like in the beginning, because he's like, she's been through something awful, I've been through something awful. And she's not dealing with it well, but like I know how to like
help her.
What made me feel better, so I can help her feel better, which I think is like very sweet. But yeah, there is still like, you don't fully know the intentions of a cult, you know? Like
and I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna put a note in that to come back after we're done with the relationship stuff, because I got actually something I want to say about that. But you know, the other stuff that you've got here, Josh, of course, exploiting the commune for his thesis, and you know, yeah, like yes, you do want to yes, Josh feels threatened by Christian wanting to one-up him and take away his idea. So he decides to take pictures of the text, which you shouldn't have done. And I am 100% sure that that's what got you killed a lot earlier than when you were supposed to get killed. By the way, thank you to Aster for not killing off the black guy first. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Instead, you killed off the very apparently mixed race person, but
yeah,
that's a different.
Simon and Connie were the ones to go first. So I mean,
yeah, it was
still fucked, but yeah.
Still, thank you for not killing the black guy first. I hate that trope in horror movies.
Me too.
But yeah, you know, what's it called? Josh is using them, and he gets him killed because he takes pictures of the text. And then, of course, you know, you have Danny in the relationship with the commune that we've already gone over, and Pele.
I guess like one thing I want to talk about though with like Danny and the commune is like after she wins the May Queen and she's like accepted into that crowd and she's like moving with the crowd and they're like raising her up, like Christian is just all alone trailing in the back. And like she has like a hallucination of seeing her mom quickly in the crowd, but then she like, you know, disappears back into it, and then all of a sudden she's like kissing Pele, and it's just kind of like, I liked that moment just because she's like leaving Christian and her mom and like her past kind of behind her and like transitioning into this new family that actually like seems to care for her well-being.
Yeah, they care for her well-being, and even though it's a cult, but they care about her.
Well,
they appreciate what she does and what she was doing for them and being able to become the May Queen for them, and they love her. And she will be useful for 90 years until she dies off. But she is accepted into a family that she feels actually cares about her. And I don't know if there's any other ones that I want to bring up. I guess, you know, Pele in the commune. I mean, yeah, he was an orphan and he's very accepted and he can do anything for it. He wants to do anything for this family that he feels like he, you know, owes something to, that he brings in people to kill off. But also, it was very funny that you know, the brother of Pele is called Ingmar. So the nice way of Ari Aster going what's it called referencing the most famous Swedish director Ingmar Bergman. So I was like, that's funny. That's funny.
And then he died in the end.
Yeah, poor Ingmar. Yeah, he died. Well, he was, I believe he was volunteered, right? He volunteered.
Yeah. The 2 live Hardigan people volunteered.
Yeah, and then there was another one that was chosen.
Yeah, it was the choice between I don't remember his name, and then Christian.
Well, I can't remember his name. But either way, they still ended up putting Christian in there.
Well, yeah, I think like that choice of Danny's was important just because like I feel like it was easier than to just fresh from the grief of like what she saw as like cheating, and then Christian being unable to speak or move. He can't like defend himself. He can't sit there and twist her words around or thinking around. So she's actually able to like just finally detach herself, and she's like, you know what? Fuck it. Moving on. Burning this piece of shit.
In what I call in what I call a happy ending, where the 9 people are placed. One of them is Christian, and they burn into a blaze. And Danny, who is horrified at first, it turns into a laughter and then to a beautiful smile when with the smoke in the back, and it's a happy ending, just like the ending to The Witch. I think that's a happy ending too.
Yeah.
Yep. But and there was something else I wanted to bring up here. So there is something that I thought about this time when I watched it. So I don't think her sister killed herself and her family. I think the cult planned for Danny to be the one to come. They what's it called? Pele. Obviously, Christian is talking to her friends, and they know about the situation that's going down with Danny's sister. And also, I mean, it is completely known that mentally ill people will cause harm unto themselves before they cause harm unto others. So, you know, I don't think that she killed herself. I think that there was that the cult killed her. And another thing I want to bring up is that during one of the frames when it's a wide shot in the trees, there's this sort of figure. There's sort of the trees make a figure of a face with a pipe going through it, and it's like it references back to how her sister killed herself, well, quote unquote killed herself. And then when they arrive, one of the elders he says hi to everybody, but to Danny he specifically hugs her. And he looks at her and even says, "I'm very happy that you decided to come with us to visit us." And it makes me think, I don't think that she killed herself. I think that they did this so they were easier to manipulate Danny into staying in the commune.
I don't know if I agree with that. Just because I don't know what other evidence there would be for that. Like, I don't see how the cult could go do that, you know? Like, it's
just one of my wacky theories. It's one of my wacky theories. You don't have to agree with it. I just wanted to bring it up. I don't think that was really what happened.
I think it was just, you know, a coincidence for Pele. Like, I think he fully planned to just go through with it without bringing Danny, because he only needed to bring a couple sacrifices, and he brought 3 dudes with him. So, like, I think he would have been set in that sense. And so, like, I think it was just kind of coincidental.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody else out there, believes my theory, go ahead. But it is in that frame where you see the face with the structure of the pipe with the trees going into the mouth. And if you look at that specific, and I'll send you a picture of it if you want.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of subscribe to this whole theory that I have when I'm watching this film, and I think that yes, it was an easier way to kind of manipulate Danny into staying there and coming with them. But ultimately, whether you believe it or not, it's all fine. It's just one of my theories I have on this movie. But yeah, is there anything else we got to go through, or are we finished with our conversation on this movie?
I don't know. I wrote down like the last lines of the movie because they're really, really good.
What are they?
It's when they put Christian in the bear suit and shove him in the triangle, you know? And they're like,
the happy
"Mighty
ending.
and dreadful beast, with you we purge our most unholy affects. We banish you now to the deepest recesses where you may reflect on your wickedness." And I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Yep, that guy deserved to get off like that. Didn't deserve to get raped. He shouldn't have been raped, but he deserved to get off.
That part was sketchy, but
Yeah.
that was a really interesting scene though, where they're all like kind of, oh, Anya, stop it. They're all like, getting their jollies off together, basically. Like, I thought that was a really cool scene. Like,
Yeah, I love
really
that scene.
Comfortable and weird, but yeah.
I love that scene. I just hate that in the theater people were laughing, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like how all these women are able to join in on here, and they're able to feel pleasure because she's feeling pleasure, and how it's funny how she extends her hand. And and Christian thinks that it's because she's feeling so good, right? And how he wants to grab her hand, but it's not. He's calling her. She's calling her friend, her friend to come, or her sister. I don't know, her friend to come over and to join in this feeling with her, and kind of sharing the feeling of pleasure and ecstasy with everybody around there. And it's not just a young women. It's older women too.
Yeah, I think like the initial reaching out the hand, I think she was uncomfortable at first, but then the women kind of helped
consoled her. Yeah.
Through it. Yeah, because obviously it's maybe a little uncomfortable because she just got her license for sex or whatever they said.
And then the framing is beautiful. At first, when they open the doors and she's right there with laid with the flowers and her legs are crossed. It's beautiful. It's one of my well, it's not a sex scene, it's a rape scene, but what's it called? Still, it's kind of I think it's beautiful how like all those women are able to be there and kind of feel this with her and kind of be able to console her there. Instead, when sometimes when people's first times are just like, yeah, it kind of happened, and whether I liked it or not, it just kind of happened. It just So yeah, dude, that's our conversation on Midsommar. And you've made it through your 4th appearance, and I want to thank you so much for that. Of course, Leah has already signed up for another 4 movies next season. And
yeah.
yep, I thought, once again, I'm not gonna give 4 slots, but the movies that she picked, I could not take one out. I had to get one, and I had to get all of them in there. Of course, she has her one that she claimed before anybody else. So when she comes back next season, she will be discussing Ginger Snaps with us. So that's going to be her first movie coming back. And then after that, we will go ahead and check the schedule and see how we want to schedule stuff. But Leah, I kind of get, since it's the last time I'm hearing from you, what did you think about this first season and your appearances on the first season?
Well, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I really like just the idea of sitting around analyzing movies, because usually that's just something I kind of do on my own and don't really do anything with it unless I happen to write some random essay for it or something. But I don't know, it's nice to be able to do this and to hear people actually critically thinking about films that they see instead of just watching and forgetting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. I mean, this whole podcast is about, discussing the movies that we feel there's more to it. There's more of ground to it, and that we have to discuss about it. So I'm glad that you decided to come on the show, and I'm glad that you were able to come on. And you introduced me to probably one of my favorite horror movies in Audition, and I'm glad that I introduced you into probably one of my favorite movies of all time, in The Handmaiden.
Oh yeah. I mean, I had always been planning on watching that just because everyone on Twitter was talking about the very, very erotic tooth scene.
Yeah, the tooth
and I was
scene.
like, ooh, all right.
The sexiest scene in that movie. The sexiest scene in that movie is the tooth scene, guys. So for the last time, before we come back for season 2, Leah, let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter and on Twitch at Lumpy Space Bitch. And the I in bitch is a 1. So
yeah. Yep, I love her handle. I'm kind of sad that she changed it on Instagram, but it's all good. I loved it.
Oh yeah, I had some trolls bothering me on Twitter during the whole Pride Fall thing, so I thought I would just change it on Instagram so they can't find my Instagram.
Yeah, it's all
everything
good.
is linked together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad that that's over now.
You can,
that happened
yeah, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to, but it's Leah Bladodea, the order for cockroaches. So.
All right. And and as always, you can find me at the Nerdy Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. And on the nerdcore.com, I write a bunch of reviews and I buy a bunch of pieces. I am currently still trying to get through my 75 Films from Asia challenge. And I recently put a review for L.M. Klimov's Come and See, that you can go and read all the thoughts I had on that film. It's hard for me to write down every single thought I had on that movie. So go and read all the thoughts I could actually put on paper. But I will probably never be able to actually discuss that movie in full capacity about what I felt about that movie until we do a 4-hour podcast on that. So, if you've never seen L.M. Klimov's Come and See, what's it called? Approach that one with a little bit of caution because it is pretty graphic, but I really do recommend you guys go watch that movie. So, as always, next week will be another great week for the Cinema Condition. We are going to be inviting back for the last time, thank God, right? Brad to discuss Lulu Wong's the Farewell from last year. And of course, you guys have yourself a good time. Watch a movie. Have a good time. And I don't have an outro, so I just ask you guys to watch something. Try to watch something you've never seen before. If you've never seen Midsommar, whether you're going to like it or not, watch it and experience it. Because, the only way to actually expand the capabilities of your mind is by introducing yourself to new material and new art that speaks on the human condition. So with that being said, we will see you guys on the next one. And goodbye, everybody.
Bye.